We're live. Hello, welcome. It's good to see you. Hello to my new subscribers as well. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to be looking at the new information in the Gilgo Beach or Long Island serial killer case. Hi, how are you guys doing this lovely Tuesday? I am doing quite well, thank you. Let me fix my hair real quick. All right, that's better. I'm growing out my hair and it's starting to curl. It's really doing what it wants to. So, all right, we are going to be looking at the real quick before we get started. Everything in this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, there we go. We are going to be looking at new information in the Gilgo Beach case. Now, Rex Heuermann is set to face trial for 7 homicide allegations. He is 6'4", 250 pounds, 250 to 280 pounds, and allegedly he was active from 1993 to 2010. There are many theories on Rex having been in other states and could possibly be responsible for many other homicides. There's no trial date set at this time, but it could possibly be next year. Hello, how are you guys doing? Right. Right. So there is also new DNA technology being allowed in this case. And here's a breakdown of the new DNA technology in the Rex Heuermann Gilgo Beach case. I'm going to try to make it simple. Rex Heuermann is accused of the murders of 7 women in the Gilgo Beach case. Some of the evidence connecting him to the crimes are hairs found on the victims. These hairs were found rootless. That is, there was no root. The standard nuclear DNA was difficult or hard to get. Up until now, we've needed the root on the hair to get the DNA to be tested. So to overcome that, investigators used 2 kinds of DNA analysis: mitochondrial DNA analysis from the hair shaft and advanced nuclear DNA testing, whole genome sequencing, or WGS, and SNP, singular nucleotide polymorphisms. They test the nuclear DNA from the same degraded or otherwise marginal samples when possible. Now they can take shaft of the hair, even if it is degraded or if it's just a marginal sample, and test from that. Mitochondrial or mtDNA is passed on from the mother to the child. It is more durable and degrades more slowly, so it can survive in older or more degraded samples. Hello, how are you doing? So good to see you. Let me make sure I am seeing any messages. Right, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. So now they can test from the shaft of the hair where they could not before. All right, so mitochondrial DNA, however, is less specific. So it's good for narrowing the field or excluding many people, but not always definite for identifying a single individual. In this case, the Gilgo Beach case, labs have been able to extract fragments of nuclear DNA like singular nucleotide polymorphisms from the degraded hair specimens, even without the roots. Hope you guys are following along with me. These results can be much more specific. These This technique is relatively new in forensics and is more sensitive and can look at many more markers than older methods. By combining the mitochondrial DNA from the hairs found on the Gilgo Beach victims, and in some cases, nuclear DNA, through advanced nuclear testing, prosecutors argue. I'm sorry, that was one sentence and I made it into two. Let me read that again. This technique is relatively new in forensics. It's more sensitive and can look at many more markers than older methods by combining the mitochondrial DNA from the hairs found on the Gilgo Beach victims, and in some cases, through advanced nuclear testing. Prosecutors argue they can strongly link certain hairs to Huerman or his family members using the pizza crust Rex Huerman discarded for reference DNA. A judge has ruled that this new advanced nuclear DNA evidence is admissible in a singular consolidated trial for all 7 victims. So, one trial for all 7 victims. This new technology claims to be able to overcome the samples not having a root, being older, or potentially degraded from environmental exposure, which historically made nuclear DNA impossible. We had to have the root. So this is the first time in a New York State criminal trial. Defense attorneys argue this technology has not been. So defense attorneys are arguing that this technology has not been sufficiently tested, peer reviewed, or widely accepted in law, and also that the labs that did the work are not accredited in New York State. My throat has been dry lately. Now, this might be a little bit boring, but I thought it was important to talk about and mention. Also, there is a risk of contamination, degradation, and misinterpretation of the evidence. Um, but the New York judge has ruled that the DNA evidence, both mitochondrial and nuclear, is admissible for trial. So, this could set the precedent in New York and potentially influence other states for admitting DNA evidence from degraded rootless hairs using the advanced DNA test. It could allow older cases and cold cases where physical evidence was degraded or marginal to be revisited using these new methods. And that's why I wanted to bring it up because it could allow older cases and cold cases to be reopened. For the Gilgo Beach case, this DNA evidence is central to tying Rex Huerman or those in his family to several victims via hair on the bodies and discarded items. It bolsters the prosecutor's case substantially. So, Asa's hairs were found on the victims or the discarded items, but it was mitochondrial DNA only. So there was no root, it was just the shaft. Prosecutors say they could have been transferred indirectly through innocent transfer, and she was supposedly out of town every single time. Hello, how are you? And there is no other evidence against her. However, they lived in a house that was completely hoarded. So I'm just wondering how law enforcement did a detailed search of their house and say they do have all the evidence. That is my question. How do they know they have all the evidence that was there? They say the hairs alone are not enough to charge her. So, what do you guys think? Okay, now touch DNA. I'm going to touch on that just for a minute. A tiny amount of genetic material, like skin cells, sweat, oils from the fingers, the face, the body, dandruff, saliva, even clothes fibers that a person leaves behind when they touch something is touch DNA. How touch DNA transfers is your DNA is carried by another person uh, that you might have shaken hands with. Now they have your DNA and you have their DNA, and they touch something, and now your DNA is on that thing, even though you weren't there. Your DNA could show up in a place you've never been, and it's something that you never touched before. Okay, I am trying to get good equipment. I don't have it yet, but please be patient with me. I shake, I shake my camera a little bit every time I look through my notes. I'm going to try to not do that anymore. Then there's a another way your DNA can be transferred, and it is a tertiary transfer. Example: if you pet your dog, your DNA is in that fur, and then your dog jumps on a couch. Now your DNA is on the couch. A person sits on the couch, picks up your DNA without ever meeting that person or that person meeting you. So, touch DNA is a touchy subject. I hope my sound is good, you guys. Please let me know. All right, so this raises questions. Did the person really touch the object, or was it secondary transfer? Prosecutors usually need more than touch DNA alone to prove guilt because it can be transferred so easily. So if Ace's hair or skin cells were on Rex Heuermann's clothing or belongings, they could have hitched a ride to the crime scene. That doesn't mean Asa ever met or touched the victim or was ever at the crime scene. And if you've been following the Idaho 4 case, which still has questions coming up left and right every time they release anything new. What about Brian Koberger and the touch DNA on the sheath? Because there were also other DNA found on the sheath. One was reportedly a female. Prosecutors say this other DNA is not relevant, and I guess we should just ignore it. And we still don't have any physical evidence of this so called knife sheath. The evidence is highly circumstantial. Someone else could have handled the sheath um, and then put it there. So, what do you guys think about that? So the old DNA testing was they would need just a few cells to be tested, and that was from the root of the hair. The new testing can take a tiny degraded or mixed samples and still build a usable DNA profile. It's more sensitive and precise than the older system. It can use a tiny invisible trace of DNA, even if it's old or damaged, and can link you through family members. So they can link you through family members through this small trace amounts of DNA. Why is it controversial? Because DNA can be transferred so easily. However, this new technology can help in cold cases. So, what do you guys think? It's going to be a quick one today. I was running a little bit late today. Oh, I have to stop bumping my camera. I, and I just did it again. So that's okay. Oh, and I need to turn that down. All right. I was checking to make sure I wasn't missing any comments. And this was going to be a quick one. I hope you guys understood the DNA. Basically, they needed the root before. Now they can use the shaft of the hair. It's questionable because it's so new. And so, um, if it is reliable, that's great for old cases. For cold cases, if it's not reliable, then that's not good because even to this day, lie detector tests aren't reliable enough to submit into court as evidence. So, you know, let's find out what you guys think about this new DNA evidence. Have any questions? Hello. Hi. How are you guys doing? There is a gnat in my house flying around. Hopefully, you don't see it flying in front of my face. I see it. How are you guys doing tonight? So, what do you guys think about Asa, Rex's wife, has hairs on the victims and the items that were found around the victims or on the victims, but they are saying that she had nothing to do with anything and she was out of town every time. Not sure how they can verify that, but we're going to find out more about this case. It's a big case, it's going to be coming up. There's a lot to get caught up on if you guys want to chat about it. Um, this is a serial killer case. The case will be probably going to court next year, hopefully next year. All right. A short little sweet live. I'm going to be going over to Murder Middle Mayhem at 7 o'clock to watch Pete at the Serial Killer Story Hour. It's always a good time. Tuesday at 7 o'clock. I always like to get over into that chat. It is fun. And so I will be there here in just a little bit. Righty, you guys. Well, have a lovely Tuesday night. Let me know if the daytime is better to go live and chat with you guys. I can always go earlier, not much later. And it seems like a lot of people are in those later time slots. So if you guys can chat during the day, let me know. I want to chat about a lot of things. Let me know what cases you're following, and I can brush up on that. We can chat about that one. So, anyways, you guys have a wonderful night. My throat is so dry, so I'm going to cut it short if you guys don't have any questions. I will see you guys probably tomorrow. I'm trying to do one every day. We will see. I've been having people in my kitchen doing construction. And so that's been a loud, fun time. But other than that, I'm hoping that my new AirPods are canceling out any white noise. And so if they are doing construction, maybe I could go on live. Anyways, I will see you guys later. Thanks again to my new subscribers. You guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow.